Jiri Prochazka was called to save UFC 303, and this was his response.
I'm coming. I'm coming!
Alex Pereira was called to save UFC 303, and this was his response.
Foda, hein? Chama ou não chama? Não, beleza, fechou. Let's go.
Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka are two exceptional fighters, known for stepping up to save fight cards by taking last-minute fights when the original bouts have been cancelled. Ready or not, both fighters have demonstrated remarkable readiness and commitment, stepping in to maintain the excitement and integrity of major UFC events, earning respect from fans and the MMA community. These warriors, who are also both former and current light heavyweight champions, have so many things in common, which needs to be discussed. There is a good argument to be made that both Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka have been fast-tracked in and by the UFC in their MMA career. This isn't an unusual thing for the UFC to do, especially when they see star potential in fighters. But a lot of times, these experiments don't work out. It either turns out that fighter didn't deserve to be fast-tracked, or the fighter was pushed too early in their career. But when it comes to Alex and Jiri, in hindsight, they absolutely deserve to be fast-tracked in the UFC because they have passed almost every test and gotten over any obstacle put in front of them. Jiri Prochazka came into the UFC in 2020 as a very experienced and seasoned fighter, putting in impressive performances by knocking out Volkan Ozdemir in his first fight and Dominic Reyes in his second fight, and then having a last-minute submission win against Glover Teixeira after having a fight of the year, becoming the light heavyweight champion in 2022. Alex Pereira came into the UFC in 2021, knocking Andreas Michelidas out in his first fight, defeating Bruno Silva in a war which changed Bruno forever in his second fight, knocking Sean Strickland out in round 1 of his third fight, and then having a TKO win against Israel Adesanya for the UFC middleweight belt. Although a lot of people thought that was an early stoppage, Israel would then knock Alex out cold in their second fight in the UFC. Then Alex moved up to light heavyweight division and won his first fight in that weight class against Jan Blachowicz by a split decision. Alex and Jiri would finally cross paths after these eventful fights. These are two of the most exciting fighters in the light heavyweight division. Jiri Prochazka has never had a boring fight. Alex Pereira always puts on a good performance, win or lose, and because of this, these guys have been put in the position to be the saviors of the UFC, stepping in to save UFC pay-per-view cards whenever a fight card is in shambles. Jon Jones vs Stipe Miocic was set to be the main event for UFC 295, but Jones pulled out due to an injury. Lo and behold, Alex and Jiri stepped in as the main event to save that card. The first round of that fight had some action as both guys were going back and forth with strikes, jabs, hooks, and leg kicks, but Jiri won the first round. The second round started action-packed, but Alex would win by a weird flash knockout against Jiri. This was an early stoppage and an anticlimactic end to an anticipated matchup. Fast forward to UFC 300 and both Alex and Jiri would respectively have fantastic knockout wins against Jamal Hill and Alexander Rakic on the same card, certifying Alex Pereira as the light heavyweight champion and Jiri Prochazka as the #1 contender. UFC 303 was set for the return of Conor McGregor against Michael Chandler, but the card fell apart due to McGregor having an injury.
All right, guys, here I am again. Conor McGregor is out of 303 versus Michael Chandler with an injury. The new main event is Alex Pereira, former not only UFC middleweight champion, he's also the first and only fighter to win both middleweight and light heavyweight titles in UFC history. He also did it in the shortest amount of time. He did it in 736 days and 7 fights. He finished 7 of 9 wins by knockout, which is a 78% finish rate, and won 10 of his last 11 fights, and he is facing former UFC light heavyweight champion Jiri Prochazka.
And once again, Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka have stepped in to save the card, certifying themselves as the saviors of the UFC. Alex Pereira is renowned for his striking-focused fighting style, which is rooted in his extensive kickboxing background. Alex's fight style is characterized by his elite striking abilities, strategic movement, and a calm, patient approach, making him currently one of the best strikers and a formidable opponent in the UFC. Jiri Prochazka is known for his unconventional and dynamic fighting style, which combines elements of transitional martial arts with a highly aggressive and unpredictable approach. Jiri's fight style is characterized by his unorthodox and aggressive striking, unpredictable movement, and relentless pressure, making him a unique and formidable competitor in the light heavyweight division. Alex Pereira is a warrior who should never be doubted, as he has already certified himself as a legend in the sport of MMA, becoming a 2-division champion and building a fantastic resume in such a short time. Jiri Prochazka has inserted himself in the legendary status as well by being one of the most exciting fighters and also building a good resume. As I mentioned before, Jiri won round 1 of his first fight against Alex Pereira, but it is easy to say Alex was looking good in the second round and then having that flash knockout. I believe this fight may go longer, as both fighters are stepping in on an even shorter notice than the last time. Alex is going to move forward as usual with his constant striking, a lot of leg kicks, but mixing it up with jabs and hooks while exercising extreme patience, waiting for an opportunity to land a heavy knockout punch or a flurry of strikes when he sees fit. Jiri, on the other hand, will move forward as well, backing up when he needs to, keep on switching positions with his leg movement, awkward head movements, and counter attacks, hooks and jabs, as well as engaging in the clinch. I believe if Jiri for once tries not to eat strikes from Alex, he will have success in this fight. Jiri has the right movement and counter attacks to defend strikes from Alex, but we all know that Alex Pereira's nuclear power of a left hook is something to be aware of always. This is a tough fight to predict, but comparing their fight styles and the situation in this second fight coming together, I will be going with Jiri Prochazka winning this fight. I believe he will be able to take advantage of Alex not being fully prepared for this. Although Jiri himself is not as prepared and nothing has really changed since their last fight. Alex has a big chance of knocking Jiri out again early in the fight, but I think Jiri will be able to fend him off until he gets his opportunity. I don't mind being wrong in this pick, and I believe it is a 50-50 fight, but we will see what happens after all this is said and done. Going back to what I talked about in the first fight being an early stoppage, Jiri at first did say it wasn't an early stoppage as he was out for some seconds before he got back up. In my opinion, he wasn't trying to give the ref too much flack because he later did indicate that he was still able to go on in that fight. In my opinion, regardless of what he said, it was indeed an early stoppage. Now, the main question is, do you guys think this fight will play out the same as their first fight? And is this a better fight matchup than Conor versus Chandler for the headline event of UFC 303? In my opinion, it is. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.